innovation concept of automation, integrated evolution and control for higher productivity, intelligent machines that also continuous evolution and interactive new organization between humans and machines in mutual collaboration. By combining these three innovations, we can revolutionize the production and enhance the well-being of the people. Living a healthy life. We believe our time is a timeless obligation to serve society and to improve physical morality. It's now the rest of our healthiest lives. That's all our pursues our mission of recruiting for and service our healthcare technologies. This data, we can effective high blood pressure diagnosis and treatment. We aim to achieve better lives. In a social solutions, the overriding priority is to create a sustainable fulfilling life where safety is not a consideration and there's universal access to the energy. Maintenance and improvement of infrastructure through labor saving and increased efficiency. Avoiding disastrous social systems. And that means for efficient use of human energy. Providing solutions to diverse needs, we and tomorrow to shape a sustainable future that is safe, secure, and healthy. In the focus remains factory automation, healthcare, and social solutions. We continue to challenge ourselves in our quest to create a better society. Going forward, we will continue to have innovative technologies to create an opportunity standard in the future. As we strive to create a sustainable society of humankind and our planet.
Welcome back, everybody. I'll request all of you to please take a seat so we can proceed. I think we can carry our cup of coffee or tea at the table. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Once again, I'll request all of you to take it has ever been thus. The magnitude of the issues facing the world requires an absolutely huge injection of imagination. There are many that face us. Climate change, the energy, the depletion of natural resources, to name but a few. But a thing that defines us as species more than anything else is the ability to view insurmountable issues or as an opportunity. The future of manufacturing is linked with the imagine what should then use all our collective skills to make it happen. To grasp the future of manufacturing, one must first comprehend the industry's current state and observe his the interesting panel discussion. I'd like to invite on stage Dr. Welcome the panel members on stage. Once again, we e-mobility. Can we clap and welcome Mr. Uday? Let's welcome Mr. Ganesh Shinkre, CEO, Western India, SFO Technologies. Mr. Rafiq Somani, Area Vice President, India and South Asia Pacific. Can we clap and welcome him, everyone? Let's also welcome Ms. P.V. Chakrapani, Director, Texol Energies Private Limited, to join us on the panel. Well, here we are with the first panel discussion of the day, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, good afternoon. Can we have everyone sit down here, please? We are in the panel. All right. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Vibhor, Sujata, and also Hafiz for putting up this wonderful, wonderful day-long program at the Manufacturing Awards. It's becoming an annual ritual to be not to miss event with a rich plethora of not only panelists, not only speakers, but also a wonderful lineup of the content, which as manufacturing sector professionals, we can only ill afford to miss. So I think wonderful plenary session, Suman Varmaji this morning, a very insightful take on Havel. Here we are now for the panel discussion on the future of mobility. I just want to start off with a quote by Antonio Guterres, the United Nations president, who said that the era of global warming is over and the era of global boiling is here. And there is a reason why he said that. July of 2023 was recorded as the hottest month ever in 120,000 years of history. The August of 2023 went down as the hottest August ever in the history. On the 6th July, the average surface temperature of the earth was 17 degrees plus, which was again the record of its sort. Sometime in end July, in August, the average ocean temperature was to the tune of 20-21 degrees, again the highest ever recorded. There is a place called Death Valley in the borders of California and Nevada, which recorded a temperature upwards just shy of 54 degrees centigrade. All this are telling us that the global warming is here and now, not at our doorstep, but already in. And it's evident that it is triggering climate change. If you look at the climate calamities in last 2 decades of previous millennium and compare them with climate calamities in the first 2 decades of existing millennium, there is a significant rise of those climate calamities, be it droughts, floods, heat waves, extreme, cold climate temperatures and whatnot. And what all this does is it gives immense economic setback. It has loss of infrastructure, property damage, and more than that, human life casualties. If most of the economic setback, which is of the tune of some $400 trillion over 50 years or so, was in developed economies, 9 out of 10 lives lost were in developing economies. This almost sounds like a climate change summit or a sustainability summit. And how does that connect with the mobility here? There is a bold line connection, gentlemen and ladies. About 25% of the global greenhouse gas emissions are attributable to the transportation sector. Transportation sector, after industry, is second largest consumer of energy and also emitter of greenhouse gases. And I think, as we saw in Suman's presentation, that automobile industry is often considered as a barometer of the economy. If the auto industry is doing well, that means economy is doing well. Obviously, because generation and consumption points are different, and automobile industry has a fantastic role in connecting those points, transferring goods, people, creating employment, attracting global investments, exporting, whatnot. I mean, we can go on and on. But then on the downside, we have to be also cognizant of the fact that we are second largest contributor to the greenhouse gas emissions, which is in turn leading to climate change, which is in turn leading to climate calamities, and it's a snowball effect. So what do we have to do now? We have to revisit the transportation or the mobility sector as a whole and see how we can reconfigure the mobility sector. Already there are landmark changes coming in the engine domain, as we saw that IC engine powertrain, then we have electric powertrain, that is happening. On the other hand, there is a emergence of fuel landscape that is evolving. The watershed moment in the global biofuels industry came in the form of Global Biofuel Alliance that was signed by the leadership of India, Brazil, and America at the recently concluded G20 event. Actually opens floodgates for the use of biofuels in the automobile sector. National Hydrogen Mission is actually paving way for massive investments to use hydrogen, preferably green hydrogen, as a source of energy, and which is also going to make manufacturing sector very resilient. So the terms like Atmanirbhar Bharat, energy self-reliant India, India's transition to net zero, India's self-sufficiency in terms of meeting its energy needs are all again integral and coming to manufacturing, and even more specific, the mobility industry. And I have a rich mix of panelists here who are going to talk about different kinds of engine technologies, different kind of fuel technologies, to see how we can reconfigure some of these things so as to ensure that we have a sustainable, livable planet aligned with sustainable development goals released by United Nations. Obviously, I think Suman was talking about the global mandates like ESG mandate, environmental social governance mandate, or some of the other mandates, which is the net zero vision of the nation or big conglomerates. All that would again dovetail into manufacturing and in the automobile sector. So with that as a backdrop, I would like to open the floor to the panel discussion. And I would like to start with you, Mr. Chakrapanti. you've been talking a lot about different sources of energy and different fuel mix that is available that is going to reshape and resize this automobile landscape or the mobility. Would you like to share some insights on that?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chakrapani, Director Textile Energy. I would like to thank the manufacturing today for inviting for the wonderful conference and award ceremony where we are celebrating about the excellence in manufacturing and the current topic for the panel discussion. Thank you, Dr. Ravindra. This is about the future of mobility. So we are living in an era of energy transition. So all the energy usage and all the energy conservation and all the different types of industries, mobility, transportation, everything has been happening in the last century. So if we keep continue growing the same, then the global warming is going to be already hit us and eventually moving towards the decarbonization and moving towards the net zero. So worldwide, all the countries have already earmarked their goals for net zero and stop usage of the fossil fuels. So India also has taken a very giant leap in that, where by 2070 we would be net zero. And when it comes to the energy usage by India, so we have been very forefront in the renewables. So our we are the largest, we have the very highest capacity of renewable energy in terms of solar and wind. And in terms of energy usage, compared to other economies, we are still a growing economy. So in the past 20 years, our energy usage have nearly doubled. And it is further going to increase by 25% in the next 5 years. So where are we going to head with this kind of energy usage? And going by the past development of the renewables, where we have done extremely well, and we are at the lowest level in the levelized cost of energy in terms of solar and wind. So what we have taken is to go for a self-sufficiency in terms of the energy usage. So in that aspect, even though 2070 is the goal for net zero, 2047, we should be energy independent. And with all these things, come the golden principles of self-reliant, and again seeing the geopolitical situation which happened recently, we should be that the new term which people are talking are energy security. So when it comes to all these things, we have a vision. We have different types of fuel, like even though the electric is the major one which has been driving, I think for the past 10 years. Now we have identified another fuel called hydrogen. So hydrogen is considered as the fuel which can be used across all the segments, not only mobility, even it can be used for all the industry. So for the entire industrial decarbonization and for the mobility, and when it comes to mobility, the major things are going to be road transport, but majorly in the shipping and aviation. So these are the industries where hydrogen can be a very big fuel. Right. And in keeping in line, we have our government has launched the National Hydrogen Mission policy, and policy rules have been outlined, and all the new technologies are being planned, and there are a lot of electrolyzers which are to be built, and those kind of policies are already.
So I'm going to come back to you on this hydrogen, but I think you are absolutely right that the energy transition need not happen from coal to renewables only for the industry, but also from the auto sector. We are talking about transition to cleaner, greener energy source. Thank you very much. Ganesh, I'm going to come back to you, and I think there was a mention. I think even Suman spoke under our presentation. She almost spoke all the time. She said that the technology has the prowess to change the world for the better. When we talk about technology, we are talking about new technology. No discussion today is complete without innovation. So how do you see the innovation aspect reconfiguring the future of mobility? Would you like to talk about innovation?
Thanks. I'll talk about a narrow area because this is a huge universe. The entire electrification space alone, from locomotives to buses to personal vehicles, it's huge. But I'll speak about personal mobility, which is, I suspect, not only the early runner, but also one of the largest chunks that affects us as an industry in India. So 2-3 things that I can think of in terms of innovation that I would look forward to understanding better or look forward to learning from, experience as people experience, as we see it. First is, in this space, one would expect, and perhaps Suman will be laughing at me, but or even you guys, but what one would expect is that there will be a larger number of varieties of product, and the life cycles of each of those products will be lesser as compared to what each of us see in the IC engine world. So you'll have larger number of products that change even more frequently than we did earlier. And the direct consequences of that is that we need to find, innovate, and we already know that our supply chain, whether when they are suppliers to OEMs, those supply chains are very stressed in the current. So an innovation that one would look for is what would need to change in terms of making those more responsive and more fixed. The second is in terms of people skills. At the end of the day, when products change quickly, you have to have people that are able to across the entire organization pyramid. And the third, which is something that is aspirational to me personally, is that is there an innovation possible where an Indian company comes up with a product that is available to use across multiple OEMs. So I think those are 2-3 big ones that I think.
But I like, Ganesh, the thought that you said that we got to look at the life cycle. They call it well to tank or well to wheel. So across the life cycle of the product, the innovation can happen. There need not be to do with design, and that actually fits in very well with the circular economy concept. Also, reduce, recycle, reuse, replace, replenish, repurpose, rescale. So I think we got to find out newer applications using innovation as a platform. Wonderful. I'm just going to go to this side to you, Rafiq. And again, at ANSYS, you've been seeing this landscape of transportation unfold very rapidly. You just mentioned during the break that 40% of your business is to cater to the automobile sector, and you are shaping the state-of-art software to reduce that last drop of efficiency. So would you like to talk us through the different pathways, how this future of mobility is panning out in times to come?
I think good question, Ravindra. First of all, to give the context for your point, with 30 years of experience in automotive, both in simulation, I think India as a nation has not missed the IT bus.
Yes.
We have missed, maybe the mobile or 5G, 6G, what you say, or solar. But I think we cannot miss the mobility. When I talk about mobility, new gen, electrification, and ADAS, autonomous, we cannot miss it. India produces 1.5 million engineers every year out of 5,000 colleges. And I think we already know what business we are doing in IT services, about close to $200 billion. It's a NASSCOM report. So very clearly, I think we cannot miss this bus.
Sure.
India can become not only manufacturing giants out there like Mahindra, but I think in terms of the product development and engineering services opportunity with the talent India is producing, I think we cannot miss that. That's point number one. Point number two is, when all the global giants, because again, if I'm working with 40% automotive companies, I work with all the international companies,
Right.
automotive, which have their backend house or they're outsourcing to engineering services. So the point number two is, or opportunity for India is that, everybody came to India for cost, and we have heard many slogans that we came to India for cost, we stayed back for quality, and we are investing in innovation. And I think everybody, we know that. And I am seeing this daily, every day. When I go to Mercedes Development Center, or I go to Bosch, or when I go to Aptiv, or when I go to Continental, all these international tier 1 companies and OEMs have their centers over here.
Right.
And let me give you an example. Mercedes-Benz, if all the IC work is happening in Germany,
Yeah.
all the case for the for the audience case is connected, autonomous, shared, and electrification. So the new gen mobility, people call it case, different acronym is there. But all the case work for Mercedes-Benz is happening in Bangalore, in India. So huge opportunity. As I speak, we have at least 50,000 engineers working in this international company on simulation alone, ANSYS simulation. So I'm not talking of application areas. So that is point number two. We cannot, I can even quote that India is a simulation capital of the world. I'm talking to NASCOM to highlight and come up with a paper on that. That's point number two. Point number three is cost of innovation, correct?
Yes.
Because of the quality manpower which India is producing, and I already mentioned, maybe, okay, traditional product development for mobility is happening in the parent countries, but the new gen, because of the engineers and the talent we have. So when you have the scale, the other countries may not have the scale of engineers they can bring. We can talk about Vietnam, Indonesia, and all these countries, but they will not be able to bring scale what India are. So the cost of innovation will come when you use simulation, cut down multiple iteration, do multiple prototyping, virtual prototyping, and cut down. So I think innovation is happening in India. The third point is there is a huge opportunity for startups. I've seen a lot of action over there. So a lot of deep tech startup in automotive mobility, electrification. I'm seeing that. And the fourth one which came up to my mind when Subhan was presenting was India can also become a circular economy for batteries and electrification. So huge opportunity. I would say India should not miss this opportunity.
Wonderful. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. In the plenary session, I think Mr. Verma mentioned about digitalization as a big trend shaping manufacturing industry, and he spoke about digital twin simulation part as something which is very fundamental to the new products development and to ensure that we have optimized time, cost, quality, quantity, risk. So I think that's a big trend. But one thing that is resonating ever since morning is talent. People, you talked about 50,000 engineers, you talked about need of skilling, reskilling. And I think that's my next question to you, Suman. You also made this presentation. How ready are we to take this leap of faith? How are we readying ourselves for the new mobility? Do we have manpower or to have engineering graduates or even the mid-level managers going back and learning new age skills and readying them to rise up the productivity curve?
Hello. So it's really across the spectrum where we need talent. I will start with the lowest end of the spectrum, which is a service and mechanical staff, right? Electric vehicle need different kind of service and it is much more software oriented. So the traditional mechanical guy who is used to, fixturing, he cannot really serve it unless either he's upgraded or we get a new generation of mechanic.
Yes.
So from that end of the spectrum, where say the solution is to partner with ITIs, food service courses, all that what Mahindra Group is already, at least we are starting to do and partnering with many skill development agencies. That is it's still a challenge, but at least it's one spectrum of the challenge which looks a little easier to solve. As you move up, manufacturing technology needs again much more precision. Here, one of the big things is that we are able to add more women, which is great because it's not these giant big parts, but a lot of semiconductor assembly, manufacturing, motor, MCUs. These are all very small components. So we are able to add a lot of women. Then comes the R&D, right? R&D, there are two approaches.
Yeah.
One, of course, is reskilling the entire ICE R&D engineers to become EV engineers, which as a group at large, we are doing by partnering with many global consultants who can do this, but they can really do at the moment calibration and such. So we are, my company is lucky we have had our EV engineers for the last 10 years. So it's great because they have already a lot of experience in this domain and also it works because you cannot outsource this part.
Yeah, no,
So But what we don't have is, again, I mentioned a little bit, battery health, state of charge, recycling,
There, I would say
and
that.
all those are new.
So
And on top of that, the global giants have come and established shop in India and are trying to poach.
So it's evolving landscape, so to say. No, I think the two great points I take away. One is you are saying that it's not only to do with institutions, but industries need to do hand holding to be able to get these mid-level managers to scale up, and also internships and all to go through the new age skills. But what I also like is the participation of the women workforce, and we have all seen that Tata Motors WhatsApp video that is getting viral, that all women. Wonderful, thank you. So, Uday, as someone who has actually built a company grounds up in the electric space, you are seeing the transition in three-wheelers and more importantly on the commercial EV space. Commercial EV space doesn't get talked as much as the passenger EV space. So, I'd like to shed some light on what's happening in that part.
Absolutely. My name's Uday Narang, and I'll tell you what, absolutely what's exciting is, I think electrification, I think Dr. Ravindra, I'll disagree a little bit with you. I'm a very bold guy. I say my mind every time. I think, green energy, sustainability, climate change, ye America, England में और Australia, Canada में अच्छा लगता है. यहाँ only way, I continue to work on my Hindi, so I got to speak in that a little bit. But the only way we're going to make commercial vehicles in scale is costing TCO. I think nobody in this country, I'll tell you, I've done testing in last mile, even in the UAE, in the Kingdom of Saudi with commercial trucks. They get their ESG points, and at the end, the guy or the gal, and I want to make sure Nari Shakti comes in here, right? I know, Suman, ma'am, you're doing a lot of work also in this space, not just startup. Please remember, she's got a facility, and she's been working, and Mahindra's been working on this. But Nari Shakti is 48% of this country, and without them, we are never ever going to be the third largest economy, or any economy if we want to talk about. But most important point is in the commercial sector. I think there are multiple solutions. Obviously, the three-wheeler, the two-wheeler, the solution is there. I know there was a talk about somebody eating somebody for breakfast and then somebody having ice cubes in their drink. We'll leave that out. But the most important part is the TCO model for electric two and three-wheelers are working. And I think, 5 years from now, I think, in my view, the game on ice is over. I think a lot of these people are going to like me here. But whether it's hydrogen or whether it's EV, it's going to be there. In commercial, I think the reason why we don't, and I think you're absolutely right, we should be talking more about LCVs, SCVs, specifically the 1 ton, which is a 500,000 market. I think, we've got trucks at 6.5, 8.5, 50 tonners, but that's going to come later. What we really need to do, and I think solutions are there, but what I would say is FAME has had no talk whatsoever on trucks. We're talking about two-wheelers, but three-wheelers. We've obviously jumped onto buses. We've gone into tractors, but LCV market mein kaam karna bahut zaruri hai. And I think, whether it's Sudhendu ji or whether it's the Department of Heavy Industries, I'm always talking about that. Baatein aur conference mein mat jao, actually kaam karo and policy nikalo, right? And keep a stable policy, okay? If somebody violates a red light, hum sab log kharab nahi ho jate. I think there has to be a stable government policy. But I think LCVs and commercial trucks, the solutions are there. Fixed, fast charging, swap. I know Madam's working on it. Tara's come out with us. Switch, Mahesh Babuji's doing great work. We're working on it. I think trucks need to happen. And this is the need of the hour. But also, Kaam Zada or conferences may come, I think is extremely important. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your candid view. As always, we've been speaking at various panels. I'm not sure I share the perspective, but I admire the optimism, let me put it that way. But you're right that almost 2/3 of India's diesel consumption is coming from commercial vehicles, and we need to focus there. That's a great point. Rafik, I'm going to jump over to you again, and this time to actually touch upon the safety aspect of the vehicle. Safety, security. So much is getting talked about, the battery adaptation. In the morning session also, how the batteries are adapted to Indian conditions. So much is being talked about hydrogen. It's a difficult fuel to handle. So this safety and security aspect in this future mobility is so important. Would you like to talk us through what's happening in that space?
So I think this is a very good question. And if I look at the safety and break down into a couple of components, where very clearly you mentioned about battery, and battery is the most important piece or heart of the electric vehicle. And if you know the power anywhere from 20 kilowatt kWh to 100 kWh, which is quite high. It's a lot of energy. So, you know, the way the charging, and when I talk about battery, I extend it to hydrogen also, the way hydrogen is stored and fuel cell. You know, this becomes very important. So how are you taking care of the cooling aspect, you know, the shock which happens, the wear and tear which happens to a car, you know, what will happen to the fuel, the hydrogen and battery, and the BMS battery management system and cooling and charging, all that become very, very important. So there are technologies in place like simulation technologies, which help you to, you know, make sure that a car or a two-wheeler or a LCV or doesn't catch fire, and you know, so that is very important point. The second one is crash. You know, typically when we think of electric, they say no, the front main engine nahi hai, so it will not be safe. No, I think the CG and the number of parts of EV and ADAS and hydrogen is different. So I think again, a lot of technologies are there where crash test, world-class crash test can be done with technology usages over there. So that is a second important piece. The third important piece, which more on relevant to electric and ADAS autonomous cars, will be the cyber security.
Sure.
And the functional safety. So when millions of lines in a common electric car, hundreds of lines of millions lines of codes are there. And if a ADAS car is there, there'll be billions of lines of codes. So, you know, a hacker can intrude and, you know, play and make a mess up and how the car is talking to another car or how's your system. So there are some standards like in functional safety, ISO 26262 is the standard. In the cybersecurity, there is a standard for ISO 21434. Again, you know, with millions of lines and billions of lines of code is there, this needs to be tested and validated. The fourth aspect is, you know, like when an electric or a ADAS car is coming, a car has to be, you know, like multiple trips to moon and back. That much amount of testing has to be done as per the Toyota CEO. But you know that will take decades. So that means we'll have to use simulation technologies to do virtual validation and various scenarios, and even corner cases with the situation which may not have happened in the real life also. So you know, these are some of the very important aspects.
Wonderful. I think what's needed is more awareness. So while we take Uday's comment on board, Kaam Jada conference is listening here, conference are required to actually communicate that there is enough work that is being done on the safety, security aspect of
it. And so sorry, Ravi, just to kind of link to my first point, that all this work is happening in India. The global VM and Tier 1 now, New York, Continental, Aptiv, it is happening here. And we have all these technologies and engineers who know that. Thousands and thousands of engineers are ready and trained on this.
Wonderful. Great. I'm just going to go to the other spectrum now. So much is getting talked about hydrogen mission, big investment going into the space. FCEVs is getting talked about. How this whole hydrogen, there are demonstration buses that are on the road, how do we see that tipping point where it will hit the mass market or let's say product commercialization? Would you like to talk to us about hydrogen as a fuel landscape?
Having formed the National Hydrogen Mission, the primary objective and the primary first thing which the plan and the mission objectives are to replace the industrial sector. So hydrogen is not new to the industry. So in fertilizers, petrochemicals, refineries, and the new thing is in the steel industry. So there is something called green steel. Already we have Tata Power, Tata Steel first testing on the Jamshedpur plant using the hydrogen as a reducing element instead of coal. So the industry is the first thing which is taking the hydrogen as a main ingredient. It's because it is a reducing agent and it is also a fuel. So being the lightest element, very easy to ignite, it is the fuel which is being considered in all the industry. So when the industrial adoption happens, slowly the target of going to the mobility sector is being addressed. So for the mobility sector, I would say hydrogen is complementing the electric vehicles because what you typically see in a hydrogen powered vehicle is a fuel cell electric vehicle, where you take a battery electric vehicle, to downsize the capacity to 20% and add fuel to it. So this is the industry norm which has been going on. So when it comes to fuel cell electric vehicle, there are a lot of pilot projects going on, and government has come out with some innovative concepts to bring out some innovation and R&D into the adoption of fuel cells into the industry. They have come out with 3 different type of projects. One is mission mode project, which is of short term. Here, when I say short term itself is 0 to 5 years, where the focus is to make an end product. Here, when I say end product, people are talking about how hydrogen is going to be used as a fuel. You cannot have hydrogen produced at a remote location and transported. So people are talking about modular electrolyzers. So you already have a fuel station, you have a solar. India is rich in solar and wind. So you set up on-site generation of hydrogen. So you set up modular electrolyzers which can produce hydrogen and which can be readily used as a fuel at the site. So this is the concept which primarily the mission is driving it out. And one is the modular electrolyzers, and next comes the PEM fuel cell. Fuel cells again have got different categories, where the PEM is the successful product which has been used worldwide using the Nafion membrane developed by DuPont, as it is more durable when it comes to the mobility. So the development of PEM fuel cell, starting from the fuel cell vehicles can start from the small, like a go-kart, like 500 watts or 1 kilowatt.
Right.
So these kind of pilot projects are already being, IOCL is launching one go-kart.
Correct. Yes.
So the mission mode project with the end product development and grand challenge where you develop critical technology. And
Right.
critical technologies.
I get that. We just, I'm looking at this clock staring at us and they have few miles to cover, but your point is well taken. Hydrogen as a landscape, FCEV, there's a newer technology stepping up. Quickly, Ganesh, I'm going to come to you, and the discussion is so much around, I started by sustainability, and we spoke about, environmental impact. So would you like to talk quickly about what is happening in that space?
So again, I'll try and limit to sort of an area that I am a little more familiar with. As a core technology, we are an electronics manufacturer.
Yeah.
So I'll speak within that space related
That is
to
also
EVs.
so critical. It's a non the toxic waste. It's not environment friendly. It's very important.
So the choices that are made on sustainability or environment are really made either at product design or at manufacturing equipment investment. And today, all of those investments are being guided by, to my mind, 3 things. One is government policy such as PLI.
Yes.
Second is total cost of ownership, which
Yes.
is the economics of it all.
Correct.
And third is the collective conscience of boards and management.
Yes.
Whereas if you really get it, what one would expect to happen is that similar regulation is expected. That one would expect that there'll be rules, laws
Yeah.
that will emerge in the area of sustainability and environment.
Definitely.
So today, I would believe that this is an area which is underserved or underthought, because today there are people, companies, and therefore people who are investing significant amount of money, time, etc., and building product designs, building supply chains with only a projection of what the laws will bring.
Correct.
So to my mind, it's an underserved area, the area of sustainability and
But at the same time, there are opportunities. Because for example, even the recovering the precious metals from semiconductor waste is a wonderful opportunity waiting.
yeah, so look, I know there's a clock staring. I don't want to talk about individuals, but for each there is a pain and a gain. And nobody knows where it will rest. Nobody really knows where it will rest. So today, to my mind, the entire area of sustainability and environment in the EV space is really driven by management conscious and cost more than anything else. And we have to find out how it converges with law. And
How it converges, but I think I share this optimism actually next to it, that there will be opportunities there. Quickly, someone coming to you, we talked about this sustainability. There is so much talk about battery, what happens to battery after its life cycle. There is so much talk about the blood mining, nickel, cobalt, coming from import, heavy import dependency, environmental impact, life cycle, at the end of the life cycle. Would you like to throw some light on how
Light vehicle laws that are coming, there is a lot that is coming down the pipes, and the draft stages are already out, and there is a lot of onus on the OEMs to what, how much, to what degree. Yeah, already there were a lot, right? There was already around packaging, there were already around recycling, and now this is coming with the end of life vehicle. We have to do a lot as OEMs, and the obvious ones, obviously we are doing, the green energy consumption, like the solar, using the solar power plants, all that stuff, water, recycling, no groundwater wastage, all of those are already done at the Mahindra plants, because Mahindra has taken 2040 carbon neutral, while it could be 2070 for the country as a whole, it's just 2040 for us. So we are actively working on all the dimensions possible, yeah, water, air, trees, we are planting lots of trees. In fact, the vehicles sold by last mile mobility itself account to 55 lakh trees, and significant amount of environmental pollution is avoided. But again, on the recycling, only at pilot stage it is happening. And we are working with a lot of companies who are bringing any solution to us, actually. Whether it is second life, for which we need a better SOH estimation. What is the life of the battery left? So where can it go? That we are working with a lot of, we have our own battery scientists who are doing this. And then on the recycling, it's very nascent stage, because globally the technology that is recycled is NMC. Whereas a lot of batteries in India is LFP. That until, so we are partnering a lot of companies.
I get it, and I know it was a little bit, technologies on the development cycle, and it has to see that cross that valley of death to be able to actually make commercial point. But the underlying message is, even today, as India is scaling up renewable capacity, the actual KWH, MWH, GWH, 60 to 70% from thermal. So we have a long way to build that. But quickly coming to you, you rightly hit the nail on the head that so much needs to happen in commercial vehicle space for us to take the whole environmental impact seriously. What exactly needs to happen, and what is being done at this stage?
Look, I think Dr. Ravinder, ये होगा कई बार negativity रहती है क्यों नहीं हुआ Rome was built in one day, takes time. India में हमें हर चीज एक दिन में चाहिए. Yeah. So I think, when we started this journey, I know Mahindra was there, Piaggio was there. Now everybody's there. And it tells me that everybody wants to be, as soon as the big boys and the big girls are in the party, it's going to happen, right? And it's the need of the hour. I think for electrification, and I'm not just talking about EV, we're talking about hydrogen, many other technologies. And let me be clear with you, we're going to build it here. We have the technologists, we have the people here. We don't need Sundar Pichai, or we don't need Satya Nadella to go to the United States. I don't know why people are going to Canada anyway. Stay here, build it here. But coming back, again, I think we need a firm, stable government policy. What I find is, as businessmen, as industrialists, as startups, as OEMs that are incumbents, you want a stable government policy. I will tell you, I think, phase 1, phase 2, I think there's been a lot of uncertainty, with it. I think we need somebody. If you look at Uncle Joe, God bless his heart, there's a stable policy in the United States. There's a stable policy in the United Kingdom, in Japan, in Korea. We want a stable government policy.
Sure.
हमने ये करना है, उसी पे stick करो.
Correct.
कोई गलत काम करता है तो उसका मतलब नहीं कि policy कोई stop कर दो. Right? Bureaucrats will never make a decision. Right? They're concerned about their job. I'm sorry, I'm talking controversially again, but I think we've got to have a stable business. Businesses put money for 30 years, for 50 years. We really need that. Number two, I think alliance. मैं कहता हूँ सपनों का भारत, EV का भारत, technology का भारत. But इसमें सबको साथ काम करने वाला भारत चाहिए. तभी हम लोग we're going to get to where we want to get. So I think an alliance, and I think there's enough market, there is enough demand, things can be done.
Yeah.
And I think lastly, I would say, I think that, alliances, I think honestly, we can make it in India with the people, with the technology. But if in certain areas we need alliances, we'll bring them here. Let's have an alliance space. The world of just individuals fighting each other is gone. And I think an alliance-based business, and I think whether it's in battery tech, look, to sell manufacturing, it's not so easy. I said a lot of time with the CATL boys, it takes time. So I think we've got to be able to have that alliance space, whether Europeans, Americans, Canadians, whoever, the Japanese and Koreans, we've got to build an alliance. I think in the next 5 to 7 years, you're going to see it. I think we have an opportunity in India to do it. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think I can't agree with you more that to inspire investor confidence for a long-term investment, you need a resilient, robust policy. I also completely agree that collaboration is the way to go. And I can cite just one example that Toyota launched this strong hybrid electric vehicle in which the rich blend of ethanol can also be used with battery powertrain. So, the thing about biofuels is that it has an inclusive element. It includes the farmer in the entire value chain. And for an agrarian economy like India, including the farmers, because farmers are able to sell their agricultural waste and get alternate revenue stream, which can be used from waste to wealth. So we can make fuels that can go in the IC engine that helps environment, that helps energy security, that helps inclusive growth of rural community. And again, for that, they need to work with the IC engine people, also with the electric people. So I think coexistence is the key. We are just about hitting the time, but I think the panel was unanimous in saying that innovation is the way forward, whether it is in engine space, whether it is in fuel space, or whether it is for that matter as a matter of circular economy, which is end of the life cycle. So we are going to look at way to wheel, or for that matter, farm to wheel in the bio terms. Digitalization is the way to go. Digital twins, use of AI, ML, use of big data to be able to do predictive analysis is very important in the future mobility landscape. Everybody was united in saying that sustainability is one dimension we need to keep eye on. That's where the Prime Minister called for this clarion call of life size for environment. Everything we do, from mindless consumption to mindful utilization, was the life movement. And I think that's where sustainability kicks in, whether it is journey to net zero, or whether it is adoption of circular economy, or whether it is transition of energy to cleaner, greener sources. Undoubtedly, talent is at the bottom of everything. Unless we have competent people who can help us transform the change, we cannot make this transition happen. Policy has unprecedentedly important role to play, where we need to inspire investor confidence, industry confidence, and finally coexistence of different type of technologies, different stakeholders, different energy sources is the need of the day. We don't want to compete, but we want to collaborate. That's the message that this panel has. The clock is saying time is up. I don't know, Sujata, whether we have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. No. So that's about it. I want to thank again Sujata, Vibhor, and Hafiz for the opportunity. Thank you for being so lovely panelists and so lovely audience. Thank you.
Thank you to the wonderful panel. We'd like to really thank all our panelists on stage. Can we clap for them once again, everybody? To do the felicitation, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Sumit Doshi, MD, UKG India, to join us on stage. I'd also like to invite Mr. Jata Vishnuraj, Editor, Manufacturing Today, to join us in doing the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for Ms. Suman Mishra, CEO Mahindra Last Mile Mobility. Can we clap for her, everybody? Mr. Uday Narang, founder, Omega Seki Mobility. Mr. Ganesh Chinkre, CEO, Western India SFO Technologies. Please come forward. I'd like to invite Mr. Rafiq Somani, Area Vice President, India and South Asia Pacific, Anxious. I'd like to invite Mr. P.V. Chakrapani, Director, Texol Energies Private Limited, to join us. We'd now like to invite our moderator, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ravindra Udgikar, Vice President, Corporate Strategy, Praj Industries Limited. Thank you to all of you. Thank you once again. That was a wonderful panel discussion. I'll request Mr. Jata to please stay back on stage with us. Because of the time constraint, we are plugging in a few award categories right now. Joining in giving away the awards with Ms. Sujata. On stage, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Partha Karmakar, Vice President, Business Head, Professional Lighting, Havells India Limited, to join us on stage in doing the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the very first award category on screen for you. Let's begin with the award ceremony, the CEO of the Year Large. Let's have a look at the nominations, please. Well, here are the nominations. Let's have a look at the runner-up for you. Ladies and gentlemen, the runner-up goes to Dr. Hitesh Doshi, Chairman, Wari Energy Limited. Can we clap and welcome Dr. Hitesh Doshi, please? Ladies and gentlemen, we have two winners here. The CEO of the Year Large. Let's have a look at the first winner on screen for you. I'm going to invite her back on stage. Again and again and again. Let's clap and welcome her, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Suman Mishra, CEO Mahindra Last Mile Mobility. CEO of the Year, Large. Congratulations. We have another winner here. Let's have a look at the second winner on screen for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's clap and welcome V. Govindarajan, CEO, Royal Enfield, the unit of Aisha Motors Limited. Well, there's a video message conveying his heartfelt thank you to all of you.
Hope all of you are doing very well. I'm honored and humbled to receive this prestigious award. The recognition of these sort of things is just not possible without an unwavering support from a great team and the stakeholders. While I wanted to be in person to see this, due to some commitments I won't travel, thanks to the technology which helps us to connect virtually like this, and I take this opportunity to thank everyone in recognizing the CEO of the Year and also to manufacturing today. Behind every CEO, there have to be a great team, otherwise you can't be very successful. That way, as a CEO of Royal Enfield, I have an amazing team who are very passionate in making this motorcycles to cater to the entire motorcycle world across the globe. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the entire partners, the stakeholders, and all the employees of Royal Enfield. I would like to dedicate this award to each one of them who has helped me to be successful in this role. Thank you very much once again for manufacturing today, for recognizing me. All the best.
Thank you. We go on to the next category, ladies and gentlemen. There's a little change for everybody at the console. Our next category is Women Manufacturer of the Year, Large. I'd like to invite Mr. Bibor Srivastav. Ladies and gentlemen, can we clap and welcome Mr. Bibor, Managing Director, ITC Media India Group, joining us on stage to give away the award. Let's have a look at the nominations on screen, please. Well, here are the nominations. Let's have a look at the runner-up for you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap and welcome Kavita Kaushik, Head Quality and Six Sigma Humans, India. Congratulations. It's time to invite the winner. I'm going to invite her back on stage again. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap and welcome her back on stage. Ms. Suman Mishra, Chief Executive Officer, Mahindra Last Mile Mobility.
I think this one needs, and firstly, huge congratulations. Very proud of you. And I think the whole industry would be. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, I'm a little surprised. There's 2 awards. So thank you so much for this. I understand it's a jury award, so that's great. Thanks a lot. But a couple of topics. I think hopefully this can pave the way for more and more women to enter the sector. But more importantly, I think women can do it all, and women can do whatever they choose to do. So I really do hope that all the senior leaders here take it upon themselves to increase the gender diversity, create equality. And I don't mean just for women, but inclusive environment and inclusive culture, whether it is for the disabled, whether it's for the challenge, whether it is for the LGBTIQ. So this is my soapbox, but we have worked very hard and we have gone already from 5% to 12% in the matter of 1 year for women in my company. And I thank all our folks for representing here, but it can be done and it should be done, is my view.
And my 2 cents on this, we have this fine young lady editor, Sujata. Yeah, let's hear her for as well. Yeah. Nice. Because when I was looking for an editor, and I have to tell you, in our office, it's mostly women, man, and manufacturing, we don't see much. And when Sujata came, he said, we'll give you this great title. And ever since she has taken, we have just grown and grown. Well done, Sujata.
Thank you to both of you for doing the honors. Thank you, Sujata. Thank you to the board. May I now request Mr. Sumit Doshi, MD UKG, and Mr. Lokendra Singh, Managing Director, Ross Process India, to join us on stage to felicitate the next category, please. Our next category is Excellence in Workforce Management Large. While they join us on stage, let's have a look at the nominations, please. Well, here are the nominations. We have 2 runner-ups here. Let's have a look at the first runner-up. JNTL Consumer Health India Private Limited, ladies and gentlemen. Time to have a look at the runner-up on screen again. Let's clap and welcome Adani Wilmore Limited, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to you. On screen, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the winner for you. Let us clap and welcome LMT Electrical and Automation. Excellence in Workforce Management Large. Our winners. Congratulations. We take you to the next category, the nominations for Excellence in Workforce Management, SME. On screen, you ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the nominations, please. Well, we have a winner here, and the award goes to Denso Corporation, ladies and gentlemen. Let's clap for Denso. Congratulations to you. We quickly take you to the next category, Plant Head of the Year Large. On screen, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the nominations, please. Time to share the runner-up on screen. Let's have a look at the runner-up, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap and welcome Arvind Rao, General Manager at Mahindra Limited, Bangalore. Well, we have another runner-up for you on screen. Let's have a look at the screen, ladies and gentlemen. And the runner-up is, let's clap and welcome Arvind Sargaonkar, Director Manufacturing L&T Electrical and Automation, ESP. Congratulations to you. Time to share the winner on screen, ladies and gentlemen. Plant Head of the Year Large. And the winner is, let's clap and welcome Mohit Raman Bhargava, Senior Director Operations, Kendu JNTL, Consumer Health India Private Limited. We now take you to Plant Head of the Year SME. Let's have a look at the nominations on screen, please. Keeping on the nominations, we have the winner for you on screen. Let's have a look at the winner on screen. Let's clap and welcome Santosh Sipnis, Operations Manager and Plant Head at Solta Coating System. Can we clap for winner, everybody? Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for doing the honors. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to our next partner presentation. May now invite on stage Mr. Sumit Doshi, MD UKG India, to speak on operationalizing equity and inclusiveness for all. Can we clap and welcome him, everybody?
Once upon a time, in a magical place, people sat up with a smile on their face. Some built houses designed by the machines, while others could patient people's needs. But every great workplace got small. Maybe it was their purpose and bring happiness to them all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, we're good now. I hope all of you can hear me. Cool. Thank you. So I know we are all running a little late, so I'll try and be a little quick. It's probably going to be a slightly different presentation to all that you've been hearing or will be hearing, because we are not a manufacturing company. We are a software company. But we deal in technologies that help manufacturers manage their workforce better. So I think it's going to be of some relevance to all of you, and I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about how as a company we help some of the largest manufacturing organizations in the world. So you just a quick minute on or 30 seconds on UKG. You must be wondering what this name UKG is all about. Believe me, it's not upper kindergarten. It expands to Ultimate Kronos Group. For some of you, if you have heard a company called Kronos in the past, we merged with a company called Ultimate and we became UKG. UKG is the largest workforce management software company in the world. And when we talk of workforce management, it's all about managing your workforce efficiently on the shop floor. So some of the largest manufacturers in the world, whether it's Tesla or Unilever or Nestle or Toyota, Honda, General Motors, some of the largest manufacturers in the world or in India actually use these solutions to better manage their workforce. And I think it's of huge relevance for all of you, given where we as a country, as an economy are going. So before I get into more details, I want to actually run a video, which I'm sure you'll like. So can you go to the next slide? Okay, so I mean, a lot of these stats, many of you would know. Those are some phenomenal numbers, right? To me, the biggest difference, or the one that actually grabs the most attention in in that video, is about how manufacturing is going to grow. IT has done extremely well in the last 30, 40 years and continues to grow at a good pace. Digitalization, all that will continue. But how manufacturing is going to grow and how all of you are going to grow is going to be the big story for us in the next 10 years. And that's exactly where people come in. Mr. Anil in his keynote actually spoke a lot about talent and how do you manage talent in manufacturing and how do you do better. And that's just so absolutely relevant. So I'm going to spend some few minutes around how you can better manage your talent. What are some of the trends you will see around managing talent in the coming years? And I like to break that up into 3 key parts. I'm not sure if this is okay. This is working now. Sorry. So the future of work will require manufacturers to focus on 3 key areas when it comes to managing your workforce better. And I'll spend some more time on each one of these. Driving business continuity, not the business continuity of 2020, where you didn't know if your factory would work because of the pandemic and you drove business continuity. We're talking of the future where you're probably seeing phenomenal growth and you've got to make it happen. Compliance, regulation, again, Mr. Anil spoke a lot about it. And I'll spend a few more minutes there. People compliance will play a very, very big role, apart from many other things. And cultivate a safe and engaged workforce. So I'll spend a few minutes on each one of this. So let me jump through the slide. So let's talk of the productive. I don't know, seems to be. Let me blow this whole slide up. Yeah. So drive business continuity. As a manufacturing organization, many of you will grow at a pace that has never been seen. I'm working with some customers here in India who probably will grow 3, 4, 5 times their employee size in the next 5 to 7 years. I've never seen that in the last 15 or 17 years of selling workforce management solutions to manufacturers. So some companies are gaining that pace because of the growth that the country will offer and the global market will offer, right? But then the key will come in when you're going to grow your workforce so rapidly. You're going to hire that talent, develop that talent. You've got to be able to optimally utilize that talent, right? And that's one of the challenges we see a lot of manufacturers face. Against a production plan, how many people do you need in a certain shift? What skills are available? Who's not available? How do you create the most optimal schedule for your blue-collar employees, maybe for your contract employees? How do you have real-time visibility into your workforce on the shop floor, saying at the start of a shift at 7, how many were supposed to come in? How many have come in? Is there a gap? That is the manning exercise you do at the start of a shift, which takes 20, 30 minutes. Can you do that in real time? These are things that will help you drive better resource utilization. These are things that will help you drive better productivity. And this will not be a nice to have. This is something that you've got to bring in because you will be driven by competition locally. You will be driven by competition globally. You will have to be more efficient. And as organizations, you invest a ton on being more efficient through a variety of processes, TQM, TPM, Kaizen, but people remain a finicky factor in every organization. A machine can be optimized to an absolute level and probably it won't complain. A man might complain, right? So how do you manage a man better, get better out of the person, yet create a safe and engaged workforce, which I'll talk about in the subsequent slides. So managing resource utilization will become a key. It's always been important. It just will become so much more relevant. Connected to that will of course be labor costs. You do not want your labor costs to grow at the same scale as your turnover grows or your profitability grows. So no, every company would want to drive more profitability. So how do you, and labor costs are going to grow, right? If as a country, we are going to become better and better in terms of our per capita, the only way that can happen is all your employees earn more, all my employees earn more. So labor costs are also going to grow. And we need to let that happen for the life standard of living to improve. But at the same time, we've got to manage our output as best as possible. So these two will be extremely critical factors to drive business continuity from a people perspective. And that's where technology comes. AI-driven technology, workforce management technology that we deal with, for example, helps organizations optimize and better manage their workforce on the shop floor on a day-to-day basis, which we see a lot of manufacturers struggle with. That's the first area. The second area that I would like to get into is compliance risk. And I kind of broke it up into 3 parts, and I'll explain that. Mr. Anil also in his morning talk did talk about regulation coming in. As many of you will become bigger and bigger, many of you will go global as well. Many of you will also be the, as again he mentioned, I'll use this term, will be the factory to the world. And if we are going to be the factory to the world, we will be subject to audits and whatnot from a whole lot of international customers, right? So compliance could be broken up into three parts. Social compliance. Social compliance is not exactly driven by the government, but if you are providing something to a customer, let's look at the Foxconn Apple case. It was Foxconn not managing their labor compliance well that created issue for Apple in America, right? So your customers in America or Europe will not accept compliance lapses around people as you get deeper and deeper into business engagements with them. So that's social compliance. There will be so much more visibility, whether locally or globally, into your business as you become bigger, which means you need to have better management of some of these aspects. Local compliance, straightforward, whether it's your state, city, village, country that you're working in, there are regulations that will become stricter and stricter. There is a labor code in India that is about to go active and so on. So all of that will play an important role in how you better manage your workforce. And global compliance. What does global compliance mean? Many of you will go global too. Probably many of you are global. Many of you will go global, will have plants in a whole lot of other countries. And the labor compliance in each one of these countries is so dramatically different that you've got to be able to use technology to be able to handle some of these potential lapses that can happen. How can you be more proactive about you meeting compliance rather than you doing some after the fact postmortem analysis when something has possibly already gone wrong? So this is like the basement, the foundation building that you need to do, and everyone works on compliance. I get it, but at the same time, this is going to become so much more critical as you go on. So compliance is going to be a big trend. Regulation, managing your regulation better is going to be a big trend over the next few years. Investment in it through technology is the important part. And third part, and I'll spend a little more time on the third part, in fact, is while we are talking of resource utilization, optimization, labor cost, it all feels like you're trying to use the resource like a machine and kind of squeeze him out or her out. But those days are gone, frankly, right? We've reached a point in our work, and I've spoken to a lot of manufacturers who accept this also. We've reached a point where we all know, at least post the pandemic, it became even more apparent that you've got to take care of employee engagement so much more. And this creates this sort of dichotomy in the mind. Do I need to focus on getting enough optimization and productivity for my workforce, squeeze them out, if you will, or do I need to create a safe and engaged workforce? And frankly, they are not the two ends of a stretched elastic or a band. They stay together. And let's talk about it a little more. I want to start off on this with a piece of data that was compiled by Great Place to Work. Many of you are Great Place to Work certified organizations, so you know what Great Place to Work is. Great Place to Work is owned by UKG as a company, just so that you know. GPTW ran this survey over many years to see how GPTW companies, the Great Place to Work companies, the best places to work companies perform against their peers who are not the best places to work. The result is absolutely phenomenal. For companies that get qualified as Great Place to Work, where employees say, I love working for this company, the companies provide a return of 3.23 times more than an average company. Right? So there is a very clear outcome, clear productivity outcome. There is a very clear profitability outcome for a company when the employees say this is a great place to work. And when you have to make a great place to work, it cannot be a great place to work just for your white collar employees, for your people sitting in those big glass buildings. It has to be a great place to work for everyone, for all, as we call it. It has to be a great place to work for your blue collar employees. In India, we have a ton of contract employees. They have to enjoy working. That's when they will deliver more, right? So that's how important it is. And as I said, it's not a balancing act, frankly. Cost optimization, productivity, and employee centricity, flexibility at the workplace. It's not necessarily a balancing act. And I'll give you a few examples of how this actually is not a balancing act and how technology can help. When we talk of, and there was this mention that someone also mentioned a few minutes back, we as organizations are moving towards driving more equity and inclusiveness for our people in the organization. And it's not just equity and inclusiveness in terms of bringing more women to the workforce. Yes, it's a given, we've got to do that. But how do we drive more equity and inclusiveness for our workforce in general? How does my blue collar and contract employee feel more included along with my white collar employee? Have we thought of that, right? These are things that create issues. I'll give you some examples. Eliminate bias. Let me give an example of a bias on the shop floor that happens every other day, advertently or inadvertently, knowingly or inadvertently. It's called scheduling, sweetheart scheduling. There will be enough cases where an employee gets scheduled by his manager, his or her manager, for shifts that the person does not like, and another employee gets the shift that he or she likes, purely because maybe there's an equation between the manager and the employee, or it could be just done by mistake. When this thing happens, it's a very small thing on the shop floor, and you probably will say it's a small one-off occurrence. Think of the employee who's constantly getting the wrong side of the deal, and when he's comparing it with the employee who's constantly getting the right, the best shifts, it starts inducing in his mind that there is an equity issue. I'm not being treated equitably, fairly, and you start creating issues around his motivation, and that cascades. And if that builds even a little more from 1% to 5% and 10%, then you don't know when it can cascade into something much bigger. So eliminating bias, a very small bias of this sort, is possible, but at a human level, at times you might just do it by mistake, because perception are different. A manager might think I'm doing absolutely everything fine, but he's working on his thought process and his perception. That is where data comes in. That is where technology comes in. That is where a solution like this can actually highlight, hey, this guy has not been given a night shift at all. Seems to be only going in morning shifts. I think you need to change that back, right? Very simple, small thing, but it will try one example. This is one example of eliminating bias. It could be overtime. It could be giving leaves, approvals to employees. It could be an array of things in an organization which could all have bias built into it purely because of perceptions of the manager that's managing it. So when we talk of equity and inclusiveness, one of the thought processes that comes in is, hey, that's an HR job. Absolutely no. As a business leader, I know it that driving equity and inclusiveness in my organization, and I'm not a manufacturing organization, but every organization, driving equity and inclusiveness in my organization is my job, right? All you business leaders here coming in from manufacturing, it is your job to see how you are better managing your workforce. The more happy your workforce is, the more you're moving towards that 3.23x. And one of those aspects is this, for example. Another example, flexibility. This came into being a little more after the pandemic, right? Post the pandemic, even in manufacturing organizations, you have your support functions like IT and HR who get this flexibility to work from home. The IT guy will say, if you don't give me work from home, I leave and go to UKG maybe, right? So you have no choice. That happens. But does that mean you can't provide flexibility to your manufacturing workforce? The flexibility needs to be different. It does not mean that he will work from home, but can you provide flexibility to a manufacturing workforce in terms of when he would like to work his shifts? For example, today we have the opportunity where on a mobile phone, an employee, blue-collar employee can say, in this next 2 weeks, these are the open shifts available. I would like to select these 5 shifts, 10 shifts, because on a Monday morning, I need to maybe do something. So I'll go on a Monday evening. You're passing on some flexibility to your last mile employees. And that is intentional work-life balance. You're not just driving that for your white-collar employees who have put the gun on your head in a certain sense, saying, karna hi hai, but you're driving that for the rest of the employees also, saying, hey, here's flexibility for you, and we understand your life. We understand that you have a life. You have to go and manage your family. Please see what you can do with this. So you can actually drive this, but can you drive this manually? Think about, can a manager do this manually for his 50, 100 employees in a shift? Impossible. That's the only way to do that is through technology, and better yet through AI-infused technology. So that's an example of how you can drive, again, better equity, better inclusiveness, and so on. Indicators that matter when you're scheduling employees. I won't go into details of this slide here. But when you're scheduling employees, you schedule on your business need, on his or her preference. Generally not. Again, think about it. Scheduling is a very complicated mathematical problem. We make it easy by doing an ABC shift, etc. But what we miss out are things like employee preference, right? Can we take into account some of these things and run a schedule? You can do that so much more easily with technology. if you take into account this and give you the employee, that can never happen, but it will give you the best possible outcome, which you can then work with your employees to say, hey, this is where we've tried to give you your completion. Then you see it's a 94% fit to preference, not a 100% fit, right? So these are things that you can do with technology. And now if I connect this back for a moment to the initial piece I said, all of this will help you drive with better scheduling, will help you drive better resource utilization, better productivity, better cost management. You will have better visibility on the shop floor. All that is happening. But at the same time, by using some of the added capabilities of technology, what you're also trying to drive is giving employees a little more choice. And that's the balancing act that actually tech can do for you, digital can do for you so much better. The outcome of this, if you become a great workplace, right? Your employees need to tell a great workplace. I know of a few people in this room who are a great place to work certified manufacturing company. And the way Great Place to Work works, survey works, is that the survey is even sent to the last mile employees, to the blue collar employees too, and they have to rate you well, right? So when that happens, if all of them are batting for you, the outcomes are so different. I'll not go into each one of these, but let's say productivity. 81% versus 52%. And the outcomes across each one of these, agility or retention or recruitment, retained better. Across each one of them is so high. We all know we retain more people, but think about it for a moment. Every time you're churning the entire organization in a year, the amount of training investment that you have to make. Same applies in a much smaller scale to manufacturing. When people will begin to leave, you have to bring new people to train them, invest in them. The same person staying longer just delivers so much more for you, right? So how do you make your organization a great place to work, yet drive enough productivity and utilization is a balancing act that as leaders, manufacturing leaders, you've got to think about more than your HR. You've got to ask your HR that this is what I need to do to make my place a much better place to work. That's it. We can operationalize equity and inclusiveness for the organization. It's a happier outcome for all customers, but good for people and it's good. Thank you so much for patiently listening to me. Look forward to talking to all of you in the future. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen. Can we clap for him once again, everyone? We'd like to thank him, and to do the honors, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Hafiz Sheikh, Business Head, ITT Media India, to please come forward and present a bouquet to Mr. Sumit. Thank you, Mr. Sumit. Thank you once again. To everybody here with us, we now take a quick 30-minute break for lunch. But we'll be back. Even if we are not done, we can bring the plate to the table and join back in 30 minutes because we're running a little short of time and I'm sure everybody here has slides to catch. So let's make that happen together. Thank you.
This these 6 people all the time, and it's so natural system, which results in long-term health and behavioral issues. Solving these situations. There are 2 ways to increase your health. Either putting silence and always working proactive and make a difference to its customers' lifestyle. It's now innovating humans by taking advantage of developing these real-time changing. And it's offering life solutions where the naturally participating in the scientific fact that math like controls many biological responses to the power of the body on several variations in the power and intensity of sun throughout the day. From man to life, cooler and brighter, and then this affects however is in the photoreceptors in eyes, rods and cones, sense the bright and low light comes. Signal in the brain which releases serotonin and gain. It boosts attention and melatonin night that promotes effective sleep. This creates circadian rhythm. That's something that's not useful in mental health. Apps has created a lighting system that follows the cycle of natural light as experienced by humans. And it is called circadian lighting. It enables people to perform at optimal levels while contributing towards mind and body levels. The system works by integrating light pressure with daylight, and there are some genetic and natural patterns of sun with the help of tools and automated automatic adjustment of intensity. They automate with scaling as they improve organization, they increase productivity and reduce the heat estimates of work at the same time. And the lighting system reduces the brightness, even if it does might happen. There is any office space that will increase productivity, improve balance, improve the witness, reduce productivity, and improve the engagement and the generating water, making employees. With this, panels lighting system, student and the technology, reduce increase